kidding me. Where did you find that moral? You said it was fine.
My fault.
Come on! You're pathetic. You know that?
Howdy partners, and welcome back to the channel. You know, after the Herculean task that was completing my video on Red Dead Redemption 2 at the end of last year, I wasn't sure I ever wanted to come back to the Western genre. But admittedly, I've been itching to return to the Wild West for a while now, and way before Red Dead rolled in to claim the title of definitive Wild West video game, there were more options to choose from. You had Gun, Darkwatch, and the subject of today's video, Call of Juarez. Released in June of 2007 for PC and 7th gen consoles, it was actually developed by a studio you probably know for a very different kind of game. Our friends at Techland. You know, the guys behind the Dying Light series and the original Dead Island, which I've covered before, linked down below. While Call of Juarez isn't quite up to the level of quality of either of those games, it did kick off a short but memorable franchise with a few sequels of varying quality. Now, admittedly, the only one in the series I'm actually familiar with was the most recent release, Call of Juarez Gunslinger, which, while I love quite a bit, it's very different from what came before it. The original was a first-person shooter set in 1884, bouncing between dusty towns in Texas and dangerous trails in Mexico. You play as not one, but two characters, each with some unique gameplay elements. There's Ray McCall, a fire and brimstone preacher with a dark past and a quick trigger finger, and then there's his nephew, Billy Candle, a Mexican teenager with a whip, a bow, and some seriously bad luck. While primarily a first-person shooter, Call of Juarez does dabble in some stealth segments and platforming sections to questionable results. So let's dust off this old 6-shooter and see what Call of Juarez was all about. What did it get right? What missed the mark? And despite walking away from it feeling a little underwhelmed, how Call of Juarez managed to stand out enough that it spawned a few more games.
The legend of the lost gold of Juarez has been passed from one generation to the next since the time of Hernando Cortez. It was said to be the ransom for Montezuma, held hostage by the Spanish in the great Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan. The treasure disappeared soon after the sacking of the city. Some believe it's buried near the border town of Juarez. The legend relates that the Aztec sun god put a curse on that treasure. All who seek it will find only madness and their own perdition. This avaricious madness has come to be known as the Call of Juarez.
The story of Call of Juarez kicks off with Billy Candle returning home after years on the run. He left as a teenager fleeing his abusive stepfather Thomas, and chasing after a legend, the supposedly cursed gold of Juarez. But after failing to find it, broke and desperate, he has nowhere left to go but home. Unfortunately, he finds his mother and stepfather brutally murdered. Well, at least that asshole Thomas got what was coming to him. Standing over their bodies, blood on his hands, and guilt written all over his face, he runs. And that's all anyone needs to assume he did it. Like Billy's uncle, Reverend Ray McCall. The second he sees the bodies of his brother and sister-in-law, the message Call of Juarez scrawled in blood on the wall, and Billy running from the scene of the crime, he becomes a warrior of God. Ray dons his armor, straps on the guns he swore never to use again, and sets off to cast judgment on his nephew. Call of Juarez is basically a Wild West take on The Fugitive. One's a man on the run accused of a crime he didn't commit. The other is a man hell-bent on bringing him to justice.
I'm telling you, I didn't do anything.
I don't care.
On paper, it sounds like a great premise, but the game's writing doesn't really live up to that potential. It doesn't help that despite Billy being portrayed as sympathetic, he's not that great of a lead. He's whiny, extremely inept, gets pushed around by everyone he bumps into. It's honestly baffling that Billy managed to outrun Ray for the majority of the game.
Babylon the Great has fallen, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Today,
as a first-person shooter from the mid-2000s, Call of Juarez's gunplay isn't groundbreaking, but it's competent and serviceable. Aiming with mouse and keyboard feels good, plus you got a handy crosshair in the center of the screen to aim your shots. In terms of firearms, you're limited to pistols, revolvers, shotguns, and rifles, but your loadout is limited to carrying 2 pistols and 1 large firearm. While you can choose to be slow and accurate by aiming down sights, you've also got the option to go guns blazing by dual-wielding pistols, or channel your inner man with no name by fanning the hammer on a single-action revolver. Due to the game's linearity, there aren't any shops or vendors you'll visit to buy a new gun. Instead, you find them in-level or loot them off the corpses of the bandits you kill, which you'll be doing more often than you think, as your guns have limited durability and will eventually break after extended use. It's never really an issue since the game warns you when a gun starts to break down, first with its icon slot glowing red, and second when you see smoke coming off your gun. That and weapons are so abundant, you're never unarmed for long. Ditto, ammo's everywhere too. While I think your arsenal is fine for what it is, unless you're nailing those headshots, most of your guns feel a bit underpowered. Most enemies can tank an entire cylinder's worth of bullets from a revolver, and even a couple direct shots from a shotgun. While they're not bullet sponges, enemies can be a bit dangerous if you don't drop them before you need to reload, due to how long the animation is for each gun. Somewhat realistic for the time period, but it leaves you a sitting duck if you're out in the open without cover. Enemy AI is fairly competent too. They avoid standing out in the open, hide behind cover when reloading, and will move between cover if possible. They're also stupidly accurate with their shots too. Since Call of Juarez predates regenerating health becoming the standard in shooters, you need to down some bottles of whiskey to heal yourself up. But like ammo, they're everywhere, and occasionally will drop off of enemies too. Overall, your average shootout in Call of Juarez offers a decent challenge. It punishes you for being careless, but doesn't ask you to be a tactical genius either. If anything, how hard an encounter can be mostly depends on which character you're playing as, but I'll explain why in just a bit. Combat isn't limited to just shootouts though. There's a few times where you'll be thrown into hand-to-hand sections, but it's nothing special. Just punch, punch, punch until the guy you're fighting goes down. And no Wild West video game would be complete without some good old-fashioned dueling. It's fairly simple. Wait for the timer to go down, drag the mouse cursor down, pull out your gun, and pump your rival full of lead before he gets a shot off. The time to react is pretty generous, and unlike the crushingly hard duels from Red Dead Revolver, I never really had an issue gunning down an opponent. Call of Juarez's combat isn't anything worth writing home about, but the different playstyles and level designs for their 2 leads does help it stand out somewhat, though one is considerably more fun to play than the other. First, the problem child, Billy Candle. Mirroring his youth and inexperience, outside of the standard gunplay, most of his levels have a focus on platforming and stealth. First-person platforming is a crapshoot because of the perspective, and to this day the only series that's managed to nail it is Mirror's Edge. Needless to say, due to its age, whenever you have to do some platforming in Call of Juarez, it's an exercise in frustration. While you're never expected to pull off fast parkour, or Super Mario-like triple jumps, platforming and climbing is still awkward as all hell. Scaling ledges is easy, just clunky because of how slow Billy's animation is. Though it is easy to die if you biff a jump or miss a ledge, as Billy takes fall damage or outright dies when falling from a few feet off the ground. Actual platforming is done using a whip, but Indiana Jones, Billy is not. For one, your whip only works on things like branches or protruding wood beams, but the whip doesn't instantly snap to them when using it. Instead, you have to aim and find the sweet spot where the whip will wrap around the object, which the game tells you with these 2 icons. Once you get it, Billy can then swing across a gap, but that's not automatic either. You have to swing him and press the right input, in the PC version's case both mouse buttons, to release the whip to make the jump. While not hard to pull off once you get the hang of it, it always feels super clunky. You'll get tripped up on a few occasions as sometimes you need to adjust the length of the whip once you attach it to an object, before you can successfully make the swing. Something the game never tells you. Also, the awkwardness of using the whip can make a couple of frantic collapsing platform sections a lot more frustrating. This isn't a very tough game, but most of your deaths are going to come from these platforming levels and not from getting overwhelmed by bandits. As for the stealth, it's pretty bare bones. You can crouch and hide in bushes to stay out of sight, waiting for patrols to move so you can sneak around them, but that's it. You can't toss a rock or something to distract them, so you can get past them faster, but you will alert patrols to your presence if you make noise like firing your gun or closing a door. While there aren't many forced stealth sections with Billy, they always feel like such a boring slog. It works a lot better when you can just stealth kill enemies instead, using a bow and arrow. When using Billy's bow, time slows down, making it easy to line up a kill shot with his arrow. If you're quick on the draw, you can clear out entire camps without alerting anyone, and before they can fight back. Billy's bow is a pretty solid option in direct combat too, as you can take out enemies faster than you would with a revolver or rifle. Though because he's so squishy, you'll be cut down quick if you're surrounded or up against bigger numbers. Overall, I understand what they were trying to do with Billy's gameplay and levels, but the execution is weak, borderline feeling tacked on because of how awkward the whip platforming can be. Luckily, Ray is a much better character to play as. He might be slower and can't jump as high due to his age, but the good creature is tankier thanks to his armor. Ray has a strong kick he can use to destroy certain doors and environmental objects. His standout ability is Concentration Mode, which kinda works like level 1 Deadeye in Red Dead Redemption. When Concentration Mode is ready, you'll activate it by pulling your pistols from your holster. Time slows down as two reticles slowly move from each end of the screen towards each other. Moving the camera, you can guide the crosshairs around and take shots at everyone surrounding you, until you need to reload or time returns to normal. It's a lot more awkward to control compared to Deadeye, but once you get the hang of it, you can easily pick off a group of bandits before they know what hits them. Concentration Mode recharges fast too, so you're encouraged to use it whenever you can. Also, the previously mentioned hammering the fan, and the one-on-one duels are almost completely exclusive to Ray, though Billy does get one duel late in the game. Outside of all that, there isn't much else to Call of Juarez. There's some collectible criminal cards to find, a multiplayer mode I didn't play, and you have some horse riding sections where you're gunning down bandits or chasing after a target. Though horse controls are a bit stiff, and turning can be awkward when moving at high speeds. Overall, the gameplay in Call of Juarez is a little uneven. Shootouts are simple but fun, and offer enough of a challenge on normal difficulty, so you're not sleepwalking through encounters. It's Billy's sections that drag down the experience, as he's just so underwhelming to play as in comparison to Reverend Ray. Doesn't help that he comes off as whiny and annoying at times too. I think more polished stealth sections, or even a firearm exclusive to Billy, would have done a lot to balance out the experience for both characters.
My, Billy Candle. Been a long time, boy.
Sheriff,
I don't think Thomas will be too pleased to see you. You come back to set things right with him?
I'm just here to see my ma.
Well, before you go out there, I think you better give me your gun. Hand it over.
But Sheriff...
Drop it, boy.
Next, let's hop into the story. While Call of Juarez's plot is paper thin compared to something like Red Dead Redemption, its mix of spaghetti western and The Fugitive is interesting enough to carry you over its 10-hour runtime. We start with Billy Candle. And no, that's not his actual last name. He doesn't have one since he doesn't know who his real dad is. Billy's mom gave him a medallion with a candlestick on it. He'd wear it all the time as a boy, which got the kids in town to start calling him Candle. So Billy rolled with it. Due to Billy and his mom being the only Mexicans in the white town of Hope, Texas, he's always felt like an outsider. Things weren't better at home either. His stepdad Thomas hated him, beat him regularly, and made sure Billy knew he wasn't welcome. Eventually, Billy ran off to find something better. His plan? Head to Mexico to track down the lost gold of Juarez, and come back as a rich man, better than Thomas ever was. Spoilers, that didn't happen. The gold hunt was a bust. He had a brief fling with a girl named Molly, but things didn't work out because of her racist father. So, now broke, aimless, and with nowhere else to go, Billy comes back home to Hope. But if it means he can see his mom again, and eat her cooking, maybe it's worth facing Thomas. When Billy strolls into town, he's stopped by the sheriff, who instantly recognizes him and takes his gun, just in case. Already off to a great start. Billy spots a few suspicious types hanging around town, and figures it might be smart to arm himself again. He's then spotted by his old friend Susie, who offers him a little more than just a friendly conversation if he comes up to the saloon. Billy, being the absolute king of missing signals, isn't interested in some action. He just wants to rob her for her gun. Initially, when he goes inside, he gets cock-blocked by the saloon owner Clyde, who won't let anyone see his girls without paying. So Billy improvises and sneaks in from her window. While Susie double-checks that the coast is clear, he takes that time to find and snatch her derringer.
So you never found the family jewels? Maybe I can help. Oh my, you have grown.
Thought I heard you in here. You got an itch that needs scratching, boy? How about you let old Clyde take care of it?
Unfortunately, just as Susie is about to polish Billy's family jewels, they get interrupted by Clyde. Billy bolts out the window, but like half the town is on his tail, when Clyde offers a half hour with Susie to the man who catches Billy. Damn, she's that good, huh? You really blew it, Billy. After he manages to escape, the episode ends just as Billy arrives home. Things then shift over to Reverend Ray McCall. A veteran of the Civil War and a former criminal, Ray abandoned his evil ways after the accidental death of his youngest brother William, devoting himself to God to make amends for his wickedness. I'd say more about him, but Ray's story gets fleshed out in the next game, and prequel to this one, Call of Juarez Bound in Blood. Episode 2 begins with him in the middle of delivering a sermon when a panicked woman barges in, claiming she heard gunshots from Thomas's farm. Ray rushes to the scene, but he's too late. Thomas and Marissa, Billy's mom, are both dead, and scrawled in blood across the barn door, Call of Juarez. Then Ray sees Billy wandering by, and immediately taking off when spotting him. Now convinced his troubled nephew is the murderer, Ray gives chase, but Billy slips away. Things get even worse when he returns to his brother's farm and finds people trying to loot the place. After punching their lights out, Ray breaks down and goes through a crisis of faith, feeling forsaken by God despite his devotion the last 20 years. I'm not sure if he actually believes this, or if it's just justification for his actions throughout most of the game, but Ray sees the death of his loved ones as a sign from God, to become his sword of vengeance, smite those who can't be redeemed, and bring Billy to justice. With his crisis of faith in full swing, Ray retrieves his old revolvers, the ones he used to paint entire towns red before he turned to the cloth. They're symbols of his old life, but now he'll use them to carry out the will of God. Just as he's about to leave and go after Billy, he's stopped by the sheriff. He tries to talk Ray down, to let the law handle Billy, but before the argument can go anywhere, a miner shoots the sheriff dead. Chaos erupts and hope descends into full-on anarchy. Ray becomes the only line between the town and total collapse. He goes throughout town, taking out the rioting miners and escaped prisoners, leading to a final confrontation with Clyde at the saloon. After a shootout, Ray sets the saloon on fire to force Clyde out, and then finishes him off in a duel. Evil purged from the town, Ray is off to find Billy. Man, I sure hope Susie got out before the saloon went down in flames.
Gotta run. No matter if I kill somebody or not, they'll hang me anyway. I can hear the hounds. Jesus Christ, get a grip of yourself!
Shifting back to Billy, he's now on the run, and painfully aware that no one's going to believe he's innocent. If Johnny Law catches him, he's swinging from a rope. So he makes a plan. Head south to Mexico, hop on a train, and find the one person in the world he still trusts, Molly. Only problem? That train runs past a mine currently overrun by a massive gang of bandits planning to rob it. Hugely outnumbered, Billy first has to sneak past the bandits and quietly pick them off with his bow until he gets to the mine. While you'll eventually get spotted, this is a pretty satisfying stealth section if you manage a good pace, and keep landing those stealth kills. Unfortunately, when Billy reaches the mine, the bridge leading inside collapses, so he's forced to find an alternate route around. Eventually, he reaches the train crossing, but now he has to hold the line until the train arrives, while fending off waves of bandits. Meanwhile, Ray's been hot on his trail. He fights his way through the interior of the mine, gunning down probably twice as many enemies that Billy did. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Ray and Billy share a few levels, but instead of just recycling the same layouts, each character gets a unique route through the map. It's a clever way to reuse assets without making it feel cheap, and it fits the narrative, reinforcing their game of cat and mouse. Ray blasts his way through the mine, only to exit just in time to see Billy hop on the train and vanish into the horizon. After dueling and killing the bandits' leader, at least I think that's who that was, Ray learns about their plans to rob the train. He manages to catch up, teams up with some soldiers on board, and helps fight off the remaining outlaws. Another crisis averted, but still no sign of his slippery nephew. As it turns out, Billy managed to slip away earlier when all hell broke loose during the train robbery. Limping with a sprained ankle and still miles from Molly's farm, he's in desperate need of a horse. His only option is sneaking into this trigger-happy old man's property and stealing his horse from under his nose. Side note, you might be wondering, why doesn't Billy just shoot the guy and take the horse? Well, Call of Juarez doesn't let you kill civilians or animals. If you aim at a non-hostile NPC, the crosshair turns into a red X and your gun won't fire. Same goes for looting corpses. You can't waste bullets on the dead, which honestly helps conserve ammo. Now, it is technically possible to kill civilians, usually with splash damage from dynamite, or a really quick flick shot. But if you do, the game tells you not to do that again, and boots you back to the last checkpoint as punishment. It's a smart way to keep Ray and Billy from breaking character, and an excuse to justify stealth segments like this one. Reaching the guy's horse is easy enough, but because Billy doesn't want to risk getting testicular torsion, he needs to break into the old man's house to steal a saddle to protect his family jewels, before riding off. Horse secured, he sets off towards Molly's ranch. but it's not exactly a relaxing ride. He has to cross a mountain pass crawling with renegade Apaches. Oh, and wolves. There's wolves running around too. When Billy finally arrives, we're back in another stealth section. He sneaks past the ranch hands and heads for the main house, only to get caught just outside Molly's room by Chet, a ranch hand who, wouldn't you know it, also has a thing for Molly. Luckily, he's a man of honor. Sorta. He offers Billy a deal. Beat him in a fistfight, and he'll look the other way. Wham, bam, thank you ma'am. He goes down and Billy can finally speak to his sweetie. He catches Molly up on his situation. She's sympathetic, but can't help him. Not because she doesn't want to, but because there isn't anything she can do. Molly rightfully points out that Billy should have pleaded his case to Ray, and made things worse by running from the crime scene. Which, yeah, she's got a point. Billy and Ray may not have been on good terms, but seeing as he was a man of God for as long as they've known each other, Ray might have listened to Billy if he argued his case. He only went full vengeance mode after Billy ran, and scumbags tried to loot Thomas's farm. But then we wouldn't have a story, so oh well. Unfortunately for Billy, things get even worse when Molly's father finds out he's here.
The only reason you're walking out of here alive is because of my daughter. But Billy, I swear to God, if I ever see you again, I will take your life. Now you get the hell out of here and you never come back.
You're letting him go?
Shut up, Chet. He beat you fair, so you got no say in this.
With Billy back on the run, Ray picks up his trail again and tracks him to Molly's ranch, just in time to run into a group of Texas Rangers preparing to storm the place. Turns out they're after Billy too, and Molly's dad, who they claim is running a cattle rustling gang. They ask Ray for help, and together they launch a full-on raid. Amid the chaos, Billy makes a break for it on horseback, kicking off a multi-stage chase through a cornfield and across a mountain trail. Ray follows in hot pursuit, only to lose him at a bridge crossing over the river. Or so I thought. It wasn't until reviewing the footage later that I realized that one random guy standing on a rock, that was Billy. As Ray, you shoot him during a standard encounter and he tumbles into the river below. I didn't even notice at the time. He's so far away it's hard to tell, and Billy doesn't say a word. You'd think a moment like this would have earned a quick cutscene or something, but nope. Before Ray can even process murdering his nephew, he hears a scream from the ranch and sprints back, only to find he's been bamboozled. The so-called Texas Rangers? Total fakes. Molly's dad isn't a criminal, he really does own the ranch. And all those men Ray gunned down, just regular ranch hands trying to protect their boss. To make it worse, the imposters kidnapped Molly and vanished before Ray could do anything about it. With blood on his hands once again, Ray breaks down, just like he did at Thomas's farm. He realizes now that his thirst for vengeance blinded him to the truth, that maybe Billy was innocent, and he never gave him the chance to explain. But he doesn't wallow for long. Ray picks himself up and vows to make things right, starting with saving Molly. The next episode shifts back to Billy, who, surprise surprise, isn't dead. He was found and nursed back to health by an elderly Native American man named Calmwater. Wait, is that still the preferred term? I've heard Native American, American Indian, Indigenous American are all apparently fine. It just depends on the person or tribe. If you're Native and watching this, first, aho! Second, let me know what you prefer. I'm gonna stick with Native American for now. The kind of person who'd get upset about it got filtered out during the first 20 seconds of this video anyways. When Billy's back on his feet, he realizes something important is missing. His candle medallion. He asks Calmwater if he found it, but the old man says it wasn't on him when he washed ashore. Most likely, the river swept it away. Billy thanks Calmwater for saving his life and is ready to go back on the run. But the old man says it's not time yet. He thinks the river brought Billy to him for a reason. So he sends Billy to hunt 3 rabbits for him instead. This whole section is weird. For starters, the area is massive, way bigger than necessary for a simple hunting task. It feels like it was meant for an open world map that never got finished. And once you bring back the rabbits, Calmwater's tent randomly catches on fire. You put it out and then Billy gets to tell his story. After hearing it, Calmwater tells him he should stop running and face his accusers. Billy says he's not strong enough to do that, so the old man sends him on another errand. Climb a mountain and retrieve a sacred eagle feather. And oh man, this climb sucks so much. It takes forever, and every flaw with the game's platforming system is front and center. Wobbly jumps, awkward ledges, janky whip swings, you name it. But eventually, Billy grabs the feather and heads back, only to find the phony rangers waiting at camp. Calmwater's dead, a knife in his back, and Billy gets knocked out and captured as the episode ends. It's a long section, and honestly, you could cut the entire thing and the story wouldn't change. It feels like something was removed or unfinished, like Calmwater was supposed to have more tasks for him, or that this arc was originally more mystical in tone. I get the point of the eagle feather. It's symbolic. Classic test of courage. Climbing that mountain is supposed to help Billy find the strength to stop running. But what were the rabbits about? Probably just food, but they're instantly forgotten once the fire starts. And what caused the fire? Was it the evil spirit? Did the old man knock over a lamp and not notice? This whole sequence feels like padding. Not terrible, just empty. Calmwater doesn't really change Billy, and Billy never brings up the experience again. It's a detour that doesn't go anywhere. Oh well, no need to harp on this forever. Switching back to Ray after a long chase on horseback, he fails to save Molly again, but he learns where they're taking her. Juarez. Then it's back to Billy, who wakes up to find himself face to face with someone he never expected to meet. His father, Juarez.
Sorry about the rough stuff. Sometimes Manson can be a little overly, enthusiastic.
Who are you?
Don't you see the resemblance, muchacho? I'm your padre.
What?
17 years ago, your mama ran off with another man. You were still in her womb. My only son, my pride and joy. I've been searching for you ever since.
So you had my mother killed?
Of course not. What kind of man do you think I am? Her husband started shooting and my men had to defend themselves. Your poor mama got caught in the crossfire.
So you're my father?
That's right, Mio. They call me Juarez because that is where I'm from.
Juarez.
See, that's where we are, in my Alcazar, just outside the city. Once we get our hands on the gold, we'll be the most powerful family in northern Mexico. Just give me the medallion and the future is ours.
While Juarez starts off acting like a loving father meeting his long-lost son for the first time, his tone quickly shifts and he goes full-on deadbeat dad when Billy tells him he lost the medallion. He thinks Billy is lying at first, losing his temper as he calls Billy's mama puta and a whore for stealing the candle medallion that would lead him to the lost gold of Juarez. As he gets angrier, the old man tries getting the medallion's location out of Billy by beating the ever-loving shit out of him. I love how the camera shakes around as you watch from Billy's perspective. It really sells the weight of every punch thrown. Man, Billy really can't catch a break with his father figures, huh? Stepdad used to beat him, real dad shows up, and within minutes is pounding his face in too. Maybe it's a Billy problem. Something about him just radiates violently disappointing son. Whatever the case, once Juarez is done blowing out his rotator cuff on Billy's jaw, he reveals that Molly's his hostage. Yep, those fake Texas Rangers were working for him the whole time. Then comes the ultimatum. Go find the lost gold and bring it back by sundown, or Molly dies. Well, that's just super. Surprisingly, when you regain control of Billy, the game doesn't spoon-feed you your next objective. No glowing quest marker, no map ping. You're left to figure out where the gold is on your own. And I love that. Now, this area isn't that big, and if you're paying attention, you'll spot signs pointing toward the local cemetery. Once there, Billy meets a little boy asking for help burying his dad, and giving a eulogy. Do that, and out of gratitude, the kid hands over the key to an abandoned church, the exact place you need to explore to track down the gold. I don't want to oversell it. This is no different than just running around town in an RPG, talking to all NPCs to get a hint of your next destination. And since it's a small, linear level, you'll figure it out in minutes anyways. But still, in a gaming landscape where AAA developers panic if you don't solve a puzzle in under 5 seconds, I have to respect a game that trusts you enough to just figure it out on your own. Unlocking the church door and entering the small gravesite behind it, Billy has a revelation when spotting 3 graves. Inspecting each one, he realizes they match the poem his mother would tell him regarding the medallion. There's 1 candle but 3 graves. The gold of Juarez belongs only to the brave. In the first grave, a bad man sleeps. He might wake up, so shh. In the second grave, a rich man with a heart of stone slumbers. For him, the gold will not be enough. In the third grave, a beggar lays. Light a candle for him, because a little warmth means a lot to a poor man. He will give you the gold, for the poor are more generous than the rich. There's only 1 candle, but 3 graves. The gold of Juarez belongs only to the brave. Billy figures out that the medallion was meant to fit into a hole in the poor man's grave, like a key pointing toward the gold's location. Problem is, he doesn't have the medallion anymore. Still, he puts 2 and 2 together and deduces it was pointing toward a specific rock. It won't budge by hand, so you do what any rational treasure hunter would do. Climb a nearby cliff, shove a boulder downhill, and let gravity do the heavy lifting. Boom. Hidden entrance revealed. Once inside, the game briefly turns into Tomb Raider. Billy ventures into an ancient cave system, fights off hordes of spiders, stumbles upon a hidden temple, and navigates his way through old-school Aztec death traps. It's a nice tonal shift, but man, that first trap is a pain. The save tiles are obvious enough, but jumping between them in first person is about as graceful as a 3-legged mule. You have to stare at your feet, hop in the direction of the next tile, and just pray you don't clip the edge. It only takes a few tries, but still, not fun. After conquering the temple and proving himself worthy to Olmec, Billy finally finds it, the lost gold of Juarez. Too bad he doesn't get to savor his success. Turns out Daddy Dearest wasn't far behind. Instead of thanking Billy for doing all the hard work, Juarez flies into a rage again. He's convinced Billy always knew where the gold was and played him for a fool. So naturally, he rewards his son's effort by ordering his execution. Billy bolts through the cave tunnels but eventually hits a dead end, until he's saved at the last possible second by the person he least expected, his Uncle Ray.
Ray?
It's all right, boy. I misjudged you, and for that I am truly sorry. The Lord is clearly on your side. Otherwise, you wouldn't still be alive.
They got Molly.
Yeah, because of me. But I'm gonna remedy that right now. You go hide yourself.
I want to help.
No. Oh, no. This is my business now. I have to make amends and seek forgiveness for my arrogance. You get yourself to safety. God has told me to rescue this girl and punish those who took her.
After apologizing and making amends with Billy, Ray heads down to confront Juarez and his gang. A quick shootout later, Juarez retreats injured but not beaten. Before limping away, he reminds Ray that Molly's still in his hands, and if they want her alive, the gold better find its way to him. The next episode dives into Ray's backstory, at least in the opening. Turns out he's been to these caverns before. Back in his youth, he and Thomas were running cattle in El Paso, and at their favorite cantina they met Marissa. Ray knew she was Juarez's woman, but that didn't stop him. He wanted her anyway. She chose Thomas though, and the two ran off together. Enraged and jealous, Ray tracked him down to the cavern where the gold was hidden. Consumed with anger and greed, he confronted his brother, only for their younger brother William, the preacher of the family, to step between them. When William reached into his coat, Ray fired. But William wasn't pulling a weapon, he was reaching for his Bible. Racked with guilt for murdering his own brother, Ray abandoned his guns and picked up a Bible of his own, dedicating the next 20 years of his life to God and penance. He, Thomas, and Marissa decided the gold was cursed and best left buried in the caverns. With Molly's life hanging in the balance, Ray approaches Juarez's Alcazar with a covered wagon. He's not hauling gold though, he's hauling lead. It's Gatling gun time. Unfortunately, it's way more fun in theory than in practice. The recoil is ridiculous, so your accuracy tanks if you sustain fire for even a couple seconds. On top of that, Ray's left completely exposed while firing, meaning you'll be gunned down quick if you're not dropping enemies the second they appear. Honestly, the smarter play is to use it for the first wave of bandits, then ditch it. Concentration mode plus cover gets the job done way more effectively. The Gatling gun eventually gets destroyed anyway, which kinda undercuts the whole big set piece feel. After thinning Juarez's army, Ray finally reaches the main house, but the doors are locked tight. So he needs to climb the perimeter wall, fire a conveniently placed cannon to blow the doors open, and grab the excellent sniper rifle left behind by the unlucky guard stationed there. Inside, Ray fights his way down to the holding cells. The key to Molly's cell is in the hands of Juarez's right-hand man, Mason. Cue a boss battle. Or really a game of tag. Mason never sits still. He circles around the room constantly, tossing dynamite or taking pot shots whenever you're in range. You only got a second or two to hit him before he darts off again. Concentration mode would make this super easy, but of course it's disabled here. You can cheese the fight though. If you creep slowly into the room, you can line up a couple of rifle shots before Mason reacts. He'll still lob dynamite and shoot back, so you can't get careless, but it definitely makes the encounter less frustrating. Once Mason's down, Ray pockets the key and finally reaches Molly. But Juarez isn't finished. The roof hatch opens and more gunmen start raining bullets into the cell. Luckily, concentration mode is back, so clearing them out isn't too bad. Then Juarez ups the ante by tossing dynamite inside. Just one blast will kill Molly instantly, so the game forces you to shoot the sticks mid-air before they land. Easier said than done. The hitboxes are tiny, and even in slow motion it's a tricky shot. The best strategy is to hover near the center of the room so you can react quickly no matter where it's thrown from. Finally, when all else fails, Juarez says fuck it and just decides to burn the place down. He hurls an oil lantern into the cell and locks the only exit, leaving Ray and Molly to die in the flames. That is, unless Billy can get there in time. For the final episode, control shifts back to Billy as he storms Juarez's Alcazar, armed with nothing but his trusty bow and arrow. Needless to say, the odds aren't in his favor. Doubly so because this section is timed. If he doesn't put out the fire in time, Ray and Molly are toast. Literally. To save them, Billy has to knock down a cistern and flood the chamber below. The game really makes you work for it. The timer itself is pretty generous, but the real challenge is the sheer number of bandits. It feels endless for a while. Barely a moment to breathe before another shot cracks past your head. Billy's glass cannon health pool doesn't help either. So you're forced to stay mobile, and keep your health topped off with whiskey, or risk a cheap one-shot death. Thankfully, you're not stuck with just a bow. You can loot weapons from fallen enemies to even the odds. Despite the chaos, I found it to be a strong final challenge. It's satisfying as hell to finally reach the cistern and swing into it, sending water crashing down to douse the flames. But that's not the end. Billy still has one last confrontation with Juarez himself. Daddy Dearest, in classic villain fashion, praises Billy's skills and resilience, even offering him a place at his side. Naturally, Billy refuses. This is the guy responsible for his mom's death after all. So Juarez makes a surprising move. He challenges Billy to an honorable duel. No tricks, no henchmen hiding in the shadows, no last-minute backstabs, just a straight-up showdown. He even tosses Billy one of his prized pistols, and they both got 3 bullets each. Despite the setup, Juarez goes down surprisingly easy. With the final villain dead, Billy heads below to free Ray and Molly. At last, this whole bloody mess is over. Well, almost.
Where's your god now, Padre? You've made a mistake, Billy. A big mistake. I'm wearing armor as well. So throw out your gun and the bow. Do it!
Well, scratch that whole honorable duel bit. Turns out Juarez pulled a Marty McFly, the old hidden chestplate trick. Actually, wait, Marty got the idea from Fistful of Dollars, didn't he? Well, whatever. Juarez was never in any real danger, unless he had nailed a lucky headshot, which means the duel was basically for show. Figures. Well, I guess we're going to have to kill our dad the old-fashioned way, by beating him to death. Channeling all the trauma and resentment he built up from daily beatings from his stepdad, Billy finds the strength to take out his real dad. But the bastard still won't stay down. As Billy turns his back, Juarez rises one last time, knife in hand, ready to gut his own son. That's when Ray, bleeding out and on his last legs, makes one final sacrifice. In his dying moments, he saves Billy, putting a permanent end to Juarez and bringing the story full circle. And with that, Call of Juarez comes to a close.
Thank you, Lord. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil.
Back at the ranch, Molly asked me why I was running if I was innocent. Truth is, I've been running all my life. Running from everybody and everything. Calm Water said I couldn't run forever, and he was right. Truth is, I'm tired of being afraid. I'm done fed up with it. Fed up with how I've been treated all my life, like a nothing, like a nobody. And you know what? I got no one to blame for that but myself. 'Cause I believed them. Thought they were right about me. But they weren't right. I'm not nobody. I'm Billy Candle, and I'm done running. If you don't like that, you can go to hell.
And that was Call of Juarez. So, what did I think? Honestly, it was a fun time. The combat's engaging, the spaghetti western flavor gives it its own style, and the story, while simple, kept me interested. At around 10 hours, it doesn't drag its spurs through the dirt either. That said, it's not without issues. I appreciate that the devs try to give Ray and Billy distinct playstyles, but Ray's levels completely outshine Billy's. Ray gets the flashy duels, the shootouts, the door-kicking action, while Billy gets clunky platforming, half-baked stealth, and a whip that makes him look like a discount Indiana Jones. It doesn't help that he's whiny and kind of inept compared to Ray, even if he redeems himself by the end. Still, for all its rough edges, I'd say Call of Juarez is a solid, if unremarkable, 7 out of 10 game. It's the kind of game you'd rent for the weekend, have a good time with, but not necessarily revisit once it's done. I've never played the follow-up Bound in Blood, a prequel starring a younger Ray and his brother Thomas, but from what I heard, it's a big step up. I'll be checking that out down the line. And yeah, I'm willing to suffer through Call of Juarez the Cartel too, but hopefully I can play Gunslinger sometime after. And that's the video. Thanks for watching, folks, and special thanks to my channel members and patrons, including Alfred Correa, Augie Doggy, Bailey Morrison, Brad Taylor, Eric Lee, Gonkdroid the Critic, Kerr Guardians, Skillfuse, SR Powa, Thunder Muffin, and Reckless Nerd. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so for as low as $3 a month, which will give you early access to ad-free videos, and occasionally uncut videos when I'm forced to censor things for YouTube. Higher tiers will land your name in the credits, or a verbal shoutout. Keeping the outros short for today, so leave a like if you enjoyed the video, comment down below with your thoughts, and subscribe if you're new. I'm Fuzzy Slippers, and I'll see you later. Peace.